And we are called the meeting to order. Regarding closed session, there is no action taken. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
Nope, no adjustments.
That said, I would like to point out and read this, so pardon my reading, that this is National Black History Month 2026. It takes place this month in February with the theme, A Century of Black History Commemorations, to mark the 100 years of recognizing African American history. This year focuses on celebrating 100 years of intentional annual Black History observances since 1926. The 2026 theme centers on preserving and sharing accurate, inclusive history. And I point out that this is the 250th year of our nation, 100 years of celebrating Black History commemorations. That said, I would ask Laurel Green to lead us in the pledge. Please stand.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I apologize. There is an adjustment to the agenda.
And it is.
Item 11.16 needs to be an action item. That's the update to the immigration policy.
Six.
I'm sorry, B. The note says, looks like a 6. It's a B, 11.1B. I apologize for that.
I love it.
And that is to remain in compliance with state law. So
Okay, action, thank you. And this is exciting, celebrating our success, the Healdsburg High School Band.
okay, so we have John Natelli here, who maybe will introduce the members here of his world famous Greyhound band.
Hi there, how you doing? We have Niles Cobb on drums, Johnny Flores on clarinet, Silas McAllister on trumpet, Brianna Cortez on flute, and Johnny Galliana on tuba. These students all attended the Sonoma County Honor Band program this year, and that's why I chose them to come play for you guys tonight. So we're going to play Shenandoah.
Phew.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. You know, you might want to think about coming back for each board meeting to get us going.
I have a few comments, if that's okay. I don't know
Please.
what,
Please.
Yeah.
is we need to make an adjustment or is, okay. Try not to take too long. Just update everybody on what we've been up to and what our semester is looking like at the high school. So it's been great so far. We took 40 kids to the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra in January, and that was wonderful. It was an opportunity for middle school kids and high school band members to get to know each other a little bit. That's an important thing that we do. And then we had our honor band that we participated in. That was in January as well. Martinez. We have our Sonoma State performance on March 11th, and that is the Sonoma State Wind Festival. And we participate in that every year. It's bands come from all over California and some from further to participate and play at the Green Center because it's such a wonderful place to perform. So that's March 11th. It's a morning performance. We play at around like 9 a.m. or something like that. I think it's 9 a.m. It's free if anyone wants to come watch. And it's always a lot of fun, fantastic event. And then in May, we're going to be going to Disneyland. And I've been teaching here for 10 years. I've been teaching band for 20 years, and this is the first time I've ever decided to take the leap and bring my students to Disneyland. And so we're in the midst of a intensive fundraising campaign. And I'd say we're a little less than half the way there where we want to be. So if anyone is so inclined, you can donate at hhsband.org. If anyone has any friends that might want to support the arts in public education, this is a great opportunity. The money goes to our nonprofit band parents organization. We're a 501c, I think is yeah. And the name of that organization is the Healdsburg Music Boosters Club. So once again, hhsband.org, and that's where anyone can donate. I can keep going, or you can cut me off.
Question, how
Yeah.
short are you? Numbers, roughly. Be generous.
Rose, I think we raised about 10 grand.
Yeah, we need at least another
10.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit flexible because there was existing band dollars, but really the students are going to be playing in one of the music recording studios, and it's both like it's for fun and it's also an amazing opportunity to use the Disney facilities.
Yeah.
So it's a very exciting and memorable trip, and I think going to be really special for our students who are great musicians, as you heard. And can I just piggyback and say that I was there for honor band this year, and Silas participated in junior high honor band in the past. And so, but I just want to say that it was I'm not overstating it. It was a transcendent experience of music education in Sonoma County, the support of Sonoma State, of all of the band teachers, of all of the young musicians who their level of playing was just unbelievably beautiful. And they have a real short time to prepare, and they were there in the Green Center. And to me, it is the most exquisite expression of what public education can be for students in a community and for their families. And really, really moving and wonderful.
And it's 100% organized by band teachers, by Sonoma County band teachers who hire top college conductors every year, a different one, guest conductor, to come and work with the kids. Kids make, important relationships with band students from all over the county. They get to know other band teachers from all over the county, and they get to work with these incredible college level professors. So, and band teachers 100% just do it out of the love for providing students with what we feel they deserve. So thank you, Rose, for adding all that important details.
Well, thanks, world famous Greyhound Band, for coming to play for us tonight.
Absolutely.
We love you guys.
Do I have like 30 more seconds? One more minute? Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. It won't take long. I just prepared a couple brief comments about band in general. This is really broadly. I just want to talk about band is awesome. I don't know. I feel like you all probably know that, but I just want to reiterate that as far as an activity goes that really hits all bases, you would be hard pressed to find something better than public music education. I even wrote this down. I want to use my notes here. Band is an activity that I believe nourishes a whole student emotionally, mentally, physically. I mean, from sixth graders who have such a difficult time sitting still in a chair, band teaches kids how to control their bodies in like a very meaningful way. I've seen it happen before. It's really good for kids that have challenges in that department. I even made a wonderful list of all of the things that band does for students that I've noticed through the years. Self-esteem, learning how to deal with anxiety, learning how to embrace anxiety and use it. Patience teaches kids persistence, teamwork, responsibility. The social connections are incredible that band students make with each other, because it's not just parallel work, it's something that they're creating together. And those are just really important relationships that are built. Self-discipline, and then intellectually, reading, language, all of those are covered. Math, all of those are covered in music education in some way or another. So I guess what I would like to see from our administrators in Healdsburg, and this is not a criticism at all, but just something that I feel like is a good opportunity for me to mention this, is administrators taking the time to speak with band students about their experience as student musicians, and also taking the time to highlight their accomplishments to the broader Healdsburg Unified School District community. So, and we can talk about that personally. We can have a chat about that anytime. I got tons of ideas how you can do that. Once again, it's not a criticism. It's just like something is a good moment to mention that. I think that I would also like to see, and I don't know who to look at to say this, but I feel like we need to make it easier for students to be able to take band for 4 consecutive years. It becomes increasingly challenging over the years, I've noticed, for students to be able to take 4 consecutive years in band. Now, not every student wants to do that, but most do. And there is an increasing number of requirements in all different areas of education that are challenging that ability. And so I think that we should look at that, because and I've done the research into this, as far as college admissions go, students that stay in band, that take band for between 4 and 7 years, are a home run for admissions officers. And they have said this time and again. It is the greatest investment for universities to be accepting student musicians. This is like documented. And so any way I can work with anyone on making it easier, it should, like a pipeline. That's how I envision it. I'd be happy to work with anybody on that. One thing I know that we discussed and that I think we should pursue is making the band at the high school, making that an honors course for sophomores through seniors. I think it would be a little bit of an incentive, because currently students that do stay in band for 4 years, they have to go through like crazy hoops to do that. And they have to sacrifice taking any other electives. And so that would be, I think, one meaningful way of creating an incentive for them to want to stay in band. All right, I'm done. That was it.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
I just want to double check before you leave. It's hhsband.org.
Correct.
And on there is a place to donate. And
Mhm.
my understanding, there's 10,000 needed.
Yeah, we need 10 grand.
I hate the number 10. Let's make it 9. I'll see if I can.
Let's
get
make it
9.
11.
No, no, no.
I don't like 10 either. It's 11 or 12 is fine.
I'll see if I can talk the wife into 1,000.
Okay, great.
I will do it.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Okay, you
Mike.
guys appreciate it. And thank you all for being here.
All right.
Yeah, you guys are incredible. Thank you, John.
Good job, guys. You sounded great.
Okay, regarding public comments on non-agenda items, the public may address the board on any consent action item or item not listed on the agenda. Pursuant to the Brown Act, during this period, the board cannot consider issues or take action on any item not listed on the agenda. Time is limited to 3 minutes. Do we have
There are
any?
no public.
There are none. And we have approval of the consent agenda. The purpose of the consent agenda is to expedite governing board action on all consent agenda items which do not typically require discussion. Items pulled, excuse me, and thereby excluded from the consent agenda will be acted upon individually. Any item can be removed, deleted, or held for discussion from the agenda by the request of a board member. Are there any requests for pulling? Hearing none. Do I have a motion?
To approve the consent agenda?
Moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Mr. Lucas, are you voting? Is he awake? Thinking of
He's
this.
tired.
Oh,
Track.
yes, he's like, oh, okay, thank you. Okay, public comments on agenda items. Members of the public may have the, they have the right to address the governing board on items of interest, providing it relates to the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. The request to address the board will be heard at the time the item is being discussed. In accordance with Board Policy 9323, individual speakers shall be allowed a total of 3 minutes to address the board for a maximum of 20 minutes on each subject matter. With board consent, the president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation, depending on the topic and the number of persons wishing to be heard. The president will take a poll of the speakers for and against a particular issue and may ask that additional persons speak only if they have something new to add. We have little yellow cards up here if you want to speak. All right, item number 11.1, student learning, strategic plan, draft goals. Mr. Superintendent.
Okay, so this is an update with where we are in the strategic planning process. If you recall, three of you and me, 2 years ago went to CSBA down in Orange County. And we were motivated to go through the strategic planning process to really help us focus the district on what we wanted to accomplish. And so we have planned out a process very carefully that we've been following all year, and we're going to go over where we are right now. But it involves a lot of outreach to stakeholders and listening to them, what they desire in the schools, and then trying to transform that into a plan that we can operationalize here in the district. One kind of logistical idea is that we would like it to be a 6-year plan so that it would encapsulate 2 LCAP cycles, right? So the LCAP is on a 3-year rotation. So this will be a plan. You know, sometimes you hear 5 or 10 years. We're choosing 6 simply because of LCAP. So kind of we've been gathering lots of information. We've received and processed over 1,000 personal comments from people. That came through various means. We have our strategic planning steering committee that's met 3 times, I believe, to help steer this process and plan for town halls and help facilitate the town halls. We had community town halls, 2 of them. One was a little larger than the other, but both averaged near 50 people and really good conversation and input there. I will acknowledge we're hopeful to have more people show up than that, but maybe that's a positive thing about the district is people are satisfied and so they didn't feel the need, hopefully. But nevertheless, we had 50 participants. Focus groups, we have had number of focus groups, nearly 10 focus groups, TK-12 students, staff, classified, et cetera. So listening to different people about what they would like to see in school. And then we did district-wide surveys. So 2 adult surveys and a student survey as well, and had over 400 responses there. So, so we did our best to listen and to gather, and then we took it to our district leadership. Well, we actually took it back to the steering committee first, who came up with a structure that Tiffany is gonna cover. And then from that, we took the comments to our district leadership team, which are the principals and the directors and leadership staff in the district. And we culled those over 1,000 comments into kind of 65 key areas, tried to group them, and came up with the plan that we're going to talk about. So Tiffany's going to take it from here to talk about structure.
So just a little bit about the framework, but first I have to tell you my favorite focus group was the kindergarten one at HES, and I like to call it the kindergarten unfocused group. It was so cute. Their comments were things like, "My mom's a good cook." And so it was just really super cute. Okay, so we did take all of these comments, kind of condense them down into 65 like big ideas, and then we took 2 sets of cards with those ideas on them back to our steering committee, and they sorted them into things that made sense and in 2 separate groups, and then they had to justify why that made sense, you know, to the other group. And what they ended up doing was doing something a little bit kind of interesting. I thought it was super cool. They came up with 3 kind of lines that go through everything, and those are learning, belonging, and partnerships. And those are kind of the ideas that go through all of the goals. And then the goals themselves are around curriculum and programs. And then we would have actions underneath learning and underneath belonging and underneath partnerships for that one goal. And then bridging cultures, which is going to include things like multilingual learners and also family and cultural events, and recognizing students' cultures, not just recognizing, but embracing, I would say, so that we're really listening to students and what they need there. Support systems, that's where your MTSS really comes into play. And then civic engagement.
Okay.
So we're going to talk to you about those 4 strands. So again, those are the 4 strands that go across. So the first one is curriculum and programs. That's why I get to talk about this one. And the big overall goal at the moment we're thinking is increase student achievement through robust and aligned instructional methods and supports. And this is kind of a bucket where PLCs fit really naturally and perfectly. There's a lot of alignment in this particular goal around essential standards and learning pathways, aligning things like our enrichment classes with what comes later with college and career pathways, like seeing the whole structure from TK through 12 and making sure that that's a clear path for families, that they can see all the different pieces and how they interact with one another. So that's the first goal area. I think you're up.
And so the second one, the Bridging Cultures goal, you see here, it captures a couple things: increasing student cultural competence through multilingualism and culturally sustaining practices. That culturally sustaining thing is really honoring primarily Latino culture in our schools, right? The majority of our students are Latino. And in fact, Tate and I went to the Mayo Club to do a focus group, and really we're asking the kids, like, we have a lot of traditions at Healdsburg High School that you would have seen in 1959 at Healdsburg High School that are very white, for lack of a better term. If we were going to be more Latino facing, more Latino celebrating, what would that look like? And we started a really good conversation, and the bell rang. So there's more conversations to be had with them, but it was an interesting exercise. So that's part of this, honoring culture, but also then the language pathways, both in English as a second language and then in its Spanish, as deepening heritage speaker understanding of Spanish, as well as teaching Spanish as a second language to our English speakers. So strengthening the pathways there. We have the DLI study that we're doing. That would be part of this if that's something we adopt. That'll be decided before this plan is ever finalized. And then really looking at asset-based ways to support students, like I talked about, in terms of honoring culture and what they bring to the table, and not looking at it from a deficit mindset. So that is this Bridging Cultures area. And one thing to keep in mind, these are rough areas right now that have not a ton of specificity, but a little bit. And then I'll talk about how we're going to develop into the future, but we wanted to have this check-in with you to make sure we're on the right track. This reflects where you want to see the district go in terms of the board's vision and what you heard in the in our various focus groups and town halls. So, and the next one is Tiffany. Yeah.
Back and forth. So this one is all about support systems. All students are supported to meet high expectations through timely, aligned intervention and care. And so this is a place where those MTSS supports really sit, but also things like inclusion, co-teaching, meeting the needs of our students with disabilities, but also meeting the needs of our students with language needs. So there's a lot that gets wrapped up in here. And as far as instruction, I almost said the wrong thing from my notes. As far as systematic instruction, we're looking at all the different tiers and the way that behavioral supports are a part of that. So that's in that belonging, having the social emotional supports that students need to have positive behaviors and a sense of belonging with one another. And then wellness. We do think that it's important to have wellness goals so that wellness is aligned with our academic goals. We know that it's a foundational piece for students to have a strong sense of self and a strong sense of belonging. And that's part of who they are as a person and how they interact with the school and their academics. So that's all kind of wrapped into these support systems. We do have, because there's the whole section on the community, and we do have things in there too for families, thinking about supporting families as they support their students, having more transparency for families around the supports that we have available to them, and also what's happening in step-by-step ways with their students as they're receiving supports. So those are some examples of things that we're doing in that section. And I think civic engagement is up next.
Okay, so if you notice in the corner there on the right, we had some assistance in making these slides from Notebook LM. And when it first round of its work, this goal was titled Hero Goal. Not by us, by it. So we edited it out, but I think it does capture the moment in terms of where we are as a country and what our kids are facing in terms of the division, the massive, not only just distraction, but addictive nature of technology and the temptations that come with it. And what we're trying to capture here is really equipping our students to be productive citizens in a democracy in the future, right? It is kind of honestly a save democracy kind of goal. So key focus areas is our student voice, elevating leadership in school governance, civil discourse. We really think we need to teach students now, because they are getting no modeling anywhere right now in any media outlets on how do you discuss subjects that you disagree on and still respect each other and have an intellectual discussion without screaming. So we think we need to come up with strategies and ways to teach that starting at an early age, and then work with families around those strategies. A big part of this that didn't come out through this bullet is also technology. I've been counseled actually in the last day to stop talking about AI, but to call it transformative technology, because we don't know what comes after AI, and would have never guessed it was AI 10 years ago, right? So, but trying to wrap our minds and practices as a district around transformative technology and how we're going to teach students to use it or not, and have parameters and equip our staff to be able to better use it as well. So this one was, of all the goals, well, it wasn't the biggest surprise, but it was like the one that was like an aha that I hadn't thought of before, you know what I mean? And felt really good and proper for the moment in time that we're in. So moving forward, so we're here at the board discussion, just looking for input from you all if you think we're on the right track. And then we were going to take these ideas back through our LCAP engagement, through all kinds of stakeholder sessions, over 20 sessions in the next 3 months, to get feedback from stakeholders. In the meantime, we will work with our principals. We did 2 rounds of refining this with the leadership team. We'll bring it back to them and we'll start charting out specific goals over 6 years when we're going to do what and how. And then bring all that back along with measurables, metrics to measure success incrementally over time, that we think are realistic and healthy to look for. So that will be done with the district leadership team. We'll come back to the board for discussion and eventual approval in June. And then this summer we will we'll contract with somebody to create more community-facing materials that kind of push this out for families to consume and digest. So. Any questions or comments from the board?
I'll highlight something that's been on my mind a lot as a student at the high school is where is my say in this country, and just developing as a human and realizing there's so much to it. I'm glad that something civil discourse related is being highlighted and a goal for the district. And being brutally honest, there isn't that much civil discourse and any sort of modern political integration into classes or clubs. We have like a debate club, but that's kind of a fake club, and there's just not enough. And I'm glad it's being highlighted because it's something that that I've thought about a lot, and I know a lot of other students have.
I appreciate that. And there are, like, SCO, one of the good things that SCO is doing this year is they're bringing somebody to teach specific strategies for teachers and how to have civil discourse, because it's lost. It's too touchy right now, right? Kids start getting, everyone takes it personally. You can't just banter about ideas, and it just degenerates very quickly. And so, like, starting at a young age to teach how to do that, I think, is important. One thing I neglected in that slide also to talk about is some sort of civic engagement in terms of a civic action project or something more than just volunteer community hours. And we've actually, Todd Everett has taken up that banner. He is very well researched in it. And he, if you don't recall, is the gentleman who started the internship program 11 years ago, and is very interested in working with us on that. So we have some strong place to start with that. So that's also part of it. Any other questions or comments?
Go ahead.
And questions. I know I'm going to start at the end. The measurables. One thing that really struck me in those presentations we saw at the CSBA conference was how challenging that can be to set those measurables. And even some of the districts that had really well-developed strategic plans had very noticeable missing metrics for their even like math goals and stuff. It was really, and they commented that those were coming like slowly and separately. because they have a different level of buy-in and, you know, different whatever. And I just, that really, is it just me that remembers that? That it was, because we were looking at that like, well, what is your 5-year goal for
Right.
blah, blah,
Some of
blah.
them
And they
didn't
were
have
like,
measurables.
you don't know
Yeah.
that yet.
And then
It's
some
just-
of them were unbelievably like poor. Like it just, you're going to make 10-point gains in CASP in 5 years or something like that. You know what I mean? Like you would think you'd aspire to more, right? So
Yes.
yeah.
So I get that those are coming later and they have a whole different. set
Yeah, and there
of
may be
needs
a
and-
little bit of a back and forth between staff figuring out
Oh,
what we
gosh,
think
yeah.
is reasonable, coming to you, and then going back to adjust. So it may take a little longer than this, but we'll certainly engage in that. So
The thing that I remember from CSBA that's sort of like similar to what you're talking about and the more positive angle on it was that it was clear to me that for the districts that had really clearly articulated kind of larger goals, that when you move down into the to-dos, there was a lot of separation between, you know, I remember speaking to a superintendent who kind of said, well, you know, for this group of students, we need to do this to meet this goal. And for this group of students, we need to do this. And then there's a bunch of things that are the same across the board, but this requires special attention and additional resources and all those things. And that was all sort of part of the way the bigger goals articulated the action points, but they were much more detailed. And I was really impressed with that because I kind of thought, you know, it's great for us to have, it's important for us to have a very clearly articulated set of goals. And this is such a terrific start. But then it's those actions and the intricacy of those actions that really is like the reason to have goals, right?
Priority.
So yeah, just exactly.
Yeah. My other comment is related to MTSS, and I am my only comment on that is I'm a little nervous about it being relegated to supports because it's so much more, right? It's best first it's pedagogy. It's how do you teach well the first time? It's things that when you do these things help everyone in that first
Yeah.
year. And it's not just,
you're talking about
You
tier
need-
1 instruction. Yeah, which is the first part of the
yeah,
MTSS pyramid.
it's not
Yeah.
just, oh, we need an intervention. It's,
Yeah.
and we can't,
And that was
relegate it
actually
to that.
a conscious decision. So feedback we got when we went to the principals was some of these goals are going to be overwhelming to staff and maybe parents if they see it, but really for staff, when you have too many acronyms.
well, I'm not saying to use the acronym.
No, I know. But like
Please don't.
tier 1 is embedded in that first goal for curriculum and programs, right? So PLC work it's tier 1 and tier 2 instruction of
Right.
an MTSS system, right? So that is embedded in there. We're just calling it PLC because that's the term that we've sort of embraced district-wide.
Totally makes
So it's more of a semantic kind of decision,
Right.
but it's captured in there. And we did have MTSS throughout it before and really got good feedback from the principals to not overwhelm.
No, and I'm agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think MTSS, those letters should be in
Yeah.
there. I just, when we were talking about it and I hear it just like, oh, in support structure, and it's like,
Yeah.
it's way.
Right, that's an
bigger than that.
aspect.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
appreciate that though. Any other?
Well, just make a quick comment. I like what I see very much. And I think we're saying it's the process of, it's not over when it's over. Once we get all these boxes filled, I know you know this, but I'm just stating this because the principals aren't paying attention. No, I'm kidding. It's a continual. Let's go back to step 1 or whatever through all this, continually go back because it seems that we get new kids every year, et cetera. But anyway, I just appreciate it and the effort as we build this, but we continually build it.
Yeah. Lupe was turning the mic.
Yeah.
Thought.
I'm a little curious. Going back to your third slide maybe for you, about the bridging cultures. I'm
Sure.
curious what Mayo Club had to say about this because you said that
We were pulling it out of them and it was really interesting. So everything from the music, from the DJs to could we have just like a baile that's more, even get a band like a banda to come. And it was really just the beginning of the conversation. And we were we want to deepen it. And one, I think, critical component of that is having better Latino student representation in leadership at the school. And so that's a goal that we've
That
discussed.
was going
and
to be
yeah,
my
so
second comment.
that will be embedded in there.
Yeah.
But like to be able to transform the school to be that way, we need the students to be leaders and give them the voice to do it, right? And Maya is super active as it is. So, but it needs to be more than just a club.
Yeah, that and also, I mean, you said that you and Tate went inside
Yeah.
to kind of maybe having somebody else, someone who identifies as maybe a Latino go in or into Mayo Club, just kind of be like,
Yeah.
oh, see, maybe they'll feel more.
Well,
I don't know this group, but I know when I was in Mayo Club way back when, Miss Correa was the one that was running that.
Yeah.
And she was awesome, and she was somebody that we could feel safe and like comfortable sharing all these ideas. So I don't know. That's just
yeah,
kind of
and SB Nunez, Esperanza Nunez, she's the advisor, so we could have her just do it, and she's awesome too. So, but we were good when you were in high school, right? You could talk to me. So, but yeah, I get it totally. But yeah, I think just giving agency by getting the right students in leadership to be more representative of the student body will be an important step. So.
Oh yeah, and then other groups. I just talked to my neighbor here and said that there's other groups maybe culturally wise. There's the
There's the Jewish
There
Heritage
is a Jewish Heritage Club.
Yeah.
and there's a Christian Bible study hybrid club, but that's
Okay.
about it.
but
Yeah.
are there any other clubs aside
Not
from,
like from
school?
an ethnic kind of lens that I'm aware of. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a ton of clubs, but
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But like
yeah, those are the only ones. The
Culture.
Jewish Heritage Club, I think, is like 3 years old now. Thatcher started it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
and I've actually, when the whole Israel-Palestine conflict started, I actually met with those kids quite a bit to make sure they were feeling safe and not targeted in any way. And it was good and productive. But yeah, absolutely.
cool. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much. So I'm hearing we're on the right track, and let's keep deepening it. Okay. Thank you.
Going to policy and regulations regarding response to immigration enforcement, and I remind all that this is an action item.
Yeah, so we don't have slides for this one, but this is a topic that I think we are all sensitive to. Not a day goes by that I'm not in contact with someone around a rumor that ICE is mobilizing in Sonoma County, and I'm working hard to figure out if it's true or not. Corazon has been a wonderful partner in this area. Just last weekend, there was a very large rumor that they were getting hotel rooms in Geyserville, which ended up not being true. So we're on top of it, and we're monitoring to make sure we can keep our kids safe and in school. The state of California has passed regulations that every school district has to pass policy that reflects the state's best practices that they sent last year. We've adopted those best practices as our practice. We didn't have it memorialized in policy, but the principals and their staffs were all trained on, how do you interact if Homeland Security or ICE shows up at your school? When do you have to let them on, when you not? And it's really about a judicial warrant or not. And so this policy that you have before you actually just memorializes everything we were already doing into a coherent policy that is adopted statewide. It won't change practice. We are going to follow up and make an announcement with parents that we've adopted this as policy. Reminder, this is what we do. And we have a Know Your Rights flyer that we're going to send out to families that the state has given us. Ironically, the state had a ton of material produced a year ago. And was it like 3 months ago? It finally came to us in Spanish. So yeah, bureaucracy at its finest. But so we will circulate that and get it in the hands of our Spanish-speaking families for sure. We are contemplating different ways of trying to get the message out that we have, we have your back. We're going to do our best to keep you safe at school. I also don't want to make false promises because there is an eventuality in the policy that should ICE insist we're to get out of the way, and you have to just let them go and you document it and report it to the state. So it's a touchy subject, and I don't want to say something that's not true or be perceived as taking a stand that I actually can't take. So we're working on ways that we can communicate. Last year, I went to all the AVID and ELD classes at the high school and had a round conversation with kids just about what we can do And do you have any concerns? It was very productive. Might do something similar. Again, we talked about maybe sending out a video to families. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to do, but we're going to try to get the word out so people feel supported, especially in light of everything that happened in Minnesota and how terrible it was. So
I think it's a great idea
Yeah.
to find ways to go into the classroom and talk to students about it. Because I honestly think everybody's carrying a ton of stress about it.
Yeah.
And it's good to know what actions you should take in the worst of circumstances, but it's also good to just be able to have an open discussion about fears and concerns and, you know, possibilities of like, it's, you know, I would say like our high school students and junior high students both especially are very, very aware of this as being part of like a national tragedy
Yeah.
situation, you know, that is very relevant to them. And so just having the opportunity to have face-to-face with people who are in leadership positions
Right.
about, you know, is really, really important
Yeah.
and trust building, I think.
Yeah. I got a lot of feedback last year about how they appreciated it and felt safer. I won't say safe, right? But in a better place coming to school. So
Aside from working collaboratively with Corazon Healdsburg, are you guys doing anything as a district to share resources at a school site level or maybe at a district level? Just like aside from also red cards, I'm assuming, just so parents could have these resources available to
such
them?
as, I mean, we have the website that we made. that-
Yeah, or like something
stuff
that
like
they could,
that.
like if they need something.
Yeah,
information.
so there's a clearinghouse with different organizations
Okay.
and how they can access them on the website. We of course have the food pantry. I don't know if they're looking for that. We did have, and as far as I know, we're the only school north of the the only district north of the Golden Gate to do the in-house free meetings with immigration attorneys. So we had a clinic that was pretty well attended a couple months ago that we worked with Corazon on. So that's very novel and different in the North Bay. So just continuing to try to find opportunities that way. And Corazon has been the big partner in all of it. And, you know, I'm constantly texting Marcy, is this true? Is this true? And she's super quick to get back. So it's helpful. And they're in contact with the rapid response immigration people. So,
Got it.
yeah.
And they were obviously sharing the policy with them, so they know exactly
Yeah.
what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you know if Corazon is also starting to figure out how to organize the community?
They have people that they train as observers. So they actually sent a couple to the hotel with a roomer this weekend. You know, they're there to observe and document and get the word out if it were true. So people know that, you know, it's actually happening here and you need to take precautions or anything like that. So they have mobilized and are.
Well,
in
and
that
that the
direction.
community, there are people in the community who will step up,
Mhm.
much the way they did in Minneapolis,
Right.
Twin Cities. I think that would be helpful for all of the families in Healdsburg to know, not for every family to
Yeah.
know.
It's
what
an
they
interesting
can
subject
do.
because we do not want to broadcast it out in like a very public manner to put a target on our backs per se, right?
Right.
So we're trying to do a lot via word of mouth or like use areas. So we're sending it specifically to the Spanish speaking families or things like that to make sure that it's getting to who needs it, but it's not out there on social. And for God forbid somebody gets it and gets a bee in their bonnet about trying to target us. Cause it does seem to me where the places that are being targeted are in retribution for political stances or policies. So,
Well, I think that we're also Sonoma County's going to
Yeah,
be
I know.
targeted.
yeah.
Just a matter of time.
Any further questions? So I will make a motion to pass the updated policy and regulations regarding response to immigration enforcement.
And I'll
Hi.
second. Oh,
But how do we do that when it's a discussion item?
No, we changed it to action
That
at the
was,
beginning.
it was,
That was an
I
adjustment.
missed that.
yes.
That was when I said 11.1.
It was sitting right
B.
next to me.
Yeah.
I just wasn't paying attention.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Moving to C, Local Control and Accountability Plan, LCAP, mid-year report. Dr. Dougherty.
Got it. Hello, trustees. Long time no see there. So tonight I'm coming to you with the LCAP mid-year update. Just wanted to give you a little grounding point for where we are with this. This report is required by the state of California. And the purpose of it is to check in each year. We check in February on the LCAP. We check in on the goals, the implementation status of those goals, and also on the budget. So, I have it. I promise I'm pushing the right thing. I was pushing the down button. Okay. I'll start with where we're seeing strong momentum because it really provides important context for everything that follows up. And so, one of the first things that we do with this mid-year report is we go through and we take a look at all of the metrics that are on the LCAP and we put in updates for those metrics because some of the things we've just recently gotten information on. And so that's why you're seeing some of these again. I know I've had presentations on our beautiful dashboard and our CASP results. And so lots of good presentations on those things. And these are three little pieces of positivity that we definitely want to highlight. Once again, college and career readiness, 71% for our district. It's actually higher for Healdsburg High School, 76%, I believe. But it's not just that, right? It's not just that kind of beautiful percentage. It's actually all the hard work that's gone in over a number of years and the way that it's been very coordinated, the systems of counseling, course access, CTE, AVID, graduation monitoring, like every single step along the way for years, we have been working towards this goal. And it's not finished because it's not at 100% yet, right? But 71 is still pretty beautiful. The same is true for our SILF by literacy. We have a really outstanding 43% of our graduates earning that seal. Again, it's slightly higher for just Healdsburg High School. But this is showing that sustained attention over time to developing students' language skills, whether those are our English learners and developing their English skills or developing the Spanish skills of all of our students. This is a huge achievement. It was like under 20% the year before. So 43% is really saying a lot for last year's graduates. And at Marcy Becerra Academy, I want to highlight that 2 years ago, when we first started this 3-year LCAP series, Marcy Becerra Academy had 18.6% suspension rate in that year. And so that's why they had some targeted assistance come along and have brought that down to 6.1%. Now, I do want to say they have a very small population. So 6.1% seems like it's still kind of high. It's only 2 suspensions. That was 2 suspensions last year, but they have such a small number of students. So, but it does show that really having that personalized approach where students feel like they matter and they have someone who matters to them at school. And that's a difference maker for all kids. But for Marcy Becerra Academy, it was a real difference maker in their suspension rate. Okay, so enough of the positivity. We are moving on to areas that require our attention. When we look at the mid-year data, some of the themes that come out for us are suspension rate overall for the school district was a little higher than it was the year before. It increased from that 2.6 to 3.3. We had an overall, we declined down to the orange level in suspensions, and then also our students with disabilities were in the red for the suspension rate. Again, tiny little school district. I know 1,200 students doesn't feel super tiny all the time, but because of that, it's a small number of students. So we did go back and take a look, and I think there were 13 students with disabilities who were suspended for 1 day or more. And the vast majority of those were possession of substances. So I checked. So we're taking a look overall, and we've been talking with the principals about what can we do for consequences for non-violent offenses such as vaping. And so how can we approach that in a different way? It will change the suspension rate, but it will also help students to go immediately into some restorative opportunities and some counseling with perhaps the wellness center where they learn some skills instead of just going home and staying home for a day. Although I will say they do both right now. They go home and stay home for a day, and then they come back and get the counseling, but we're going to skip straight to the counseling in the future. Okay, so next up is math. We do have some very bright spots in elementary math, but math achievement, and especially again for those students with disabilities, is an area where we are just not seeing consistency. So differentiated assistance is something that we have already started that with SCO, and that is around our students with disabilities, but math was an area, and then suspensions were the other area. So we're really working on math achievement. And then third is attendance. So overall trends are improving, particularly at the junior high, I want to note. Way to go. I mean, really so much better this year already. But the increase in our chronic absenteeism, particularly for white students, shows us that disengagement doesn't show up in only one way, right? It's not just through suspensions, or it's not just through math achievement. It can also show up by not coming to school. And so we are looking at ways to mitigate that issue as well. And finally,
Could I ask a question on attendance? So
yes.
we see going in the wrong direction, if you will, for our white students. How are our Latino students doing?
Mm-hmm. Oh, how are the Latino students doing? I have it here. It's in our packet. So you'll have to give me just a second to find it, but I do have it. Just hard to flip through the pages, but. Here we go. You know what? Chronic absenteeism. Oh, there we are. So we have Hispanic students are at 14%. Overall, for the district, 16% of students are chronically absent last school year. And for Hispanic students, that was 14%. And for white students, that was 20%.
Tiffany, remind us what's the trigger to be considered a chronic absentee?
Absolutely. So you're chronically absent if you miss more than 10% of the school days, which equates to about 19 days of school overall. So in other words, that's less than 2 per month. And it doesn't matter if they're excused or unexcused.
Yeah, the metric has changed. In the past, it was truancy, unexcused absences. This is all absences.
All
right? So
absences.
it doesn't matter if parent called in or the doctor excused them. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
And does a part day count, or it's they miss the whole day?
If they miss more than an hour, 30 minutes? I was going to ask her if it was 30 minutes
So
or an hour.
that includes every doctor's or dentist appointment or anything.
Yes.
It's more than 30 minutes.
Mhm. Then they're considered absent for the whole
Mhm.
day. If they're 30 minutes late to school, they're considered absent for the whole day. And that's not us making that decision, that's the state.
Wow.
Yep.
Mm.
So,
So it's a different kind of metric. Yeah,
It's not in class.
exactly.
yep. They can't
Yeah.
learn if they're not there. So the state is, interestingly, I'm going to go off the script here for a second. Interestingly, the state does have these like really rigid definitions of what is an absence, right? But then is at the same time taking away some of our methods to fight back, like, and to get kids in school. They're much less likely to take you before a judge. I probably shouldn't say that out loud, but it's true. So they don't want that kind of action taken. Judges can't fine parents anymore for not getting their students to school. So these are, interesting times.
So I would be curious, and obviously you don't have the data now, I suspect, and I'm not sure, I'm looking at absence versus truancy. And I think that's what we're probably used to when say the absence rate is high because they're just not coming to school. I wonder if there's a way, as I throw it back to the principals, to distinguish between the two. Mike comes in an hour late because he had a doctor's appointment. Okay, he's absent, but he's not truant. Or he comes
We
in-
have that data, yeah.
We do. I don't have it with
Yeah.
me
No,
tonight, but we do have that data. And those are the absences we actually take action on. We go through our SARB process with the absences that are unexcused.
Okay,
But the state of California considers
No,
all absences.
and I understand that. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. I'd just be curious of that number because I'm guessing it's pretty small.
It's much, much smaller. Yes.
So does this mean that on any given day, 20% of this group of students are not in class? 18 to 20%?
Not
No, it means
exactly.
20% of them have missed, what was the
Have
10
missed
or
10%?
10% or more.
18,
Gotcha.
19 days is
Mhm,
the
more
is
than
the trigger
19
point
days.
for us because we're
Thank you.
181 days. Yeah.
Yeah, and they can, of course, get an attendance not an attendance contract, a vacation contract, basically, right? But they have to be out for 5 days, but then less
Right.
than 14 days. And so those parameters mean that, like, if you're going to be gone for 3 weeks, you might not qualify for that contract. All of those days might count against you. Okay.
I think though that it's important for us to keep in mind like what that metric actually means for, for this goal setting. Like obviously there's the reporting part of it and there's the fact that we want the dashboard to look great, but also, what aspects of this absenteeism means for learning and for the classroom environment, why students are missing so much. And I know in our family, the culture around absences changed a lot during COVID. And then in the years following COVID, where there was sort of like mandatory times where people, your student had to stay home so that they wouldn't pass on any illness they had to other students. And I just feel like it, I always had hard and fast personal rules about it. Like if you're not throwing up and you don't have a fever, you have to go to school. And then that completely changed during COVID and it became a much more, so I just wonder, I know we're sort of getting towards these numbers are starting to have really recovered some since the post-COVID period. But I think it's probably just good for us as a board to be really clear on like, what does this mean about student learning and what does this mean about kind of the cultures of our campus if students are not in class a lot of the time?
Yeah, absolutely. I think some parent education around what an absence really is,
Right.
and what it counts as. Like, it doesn't matter if it's excused by a doctor or not. I think some of those educational pieces for families could be really useful.
Well, and I think the goal, the message is it's important for your kid to be in class whenever possible,
Absolutely.
period. Yes, you're still going to have a doctor's appointment. Yes, you're going to get sick. But missing class is a challenge.
It is. It's
Because
not just
these
about
numbers-
the academics missed either. It's about that community.
It's all of it.
And one thing that I certainly saw when I was a middle school teacher in particular, I saw that when a student started racking up those absences, it just kept going because now they're also not comfortable being in school. They're anxious about coming back. They don't know what's going on. They don't have the relationships formed. They don't feel comfortable in the community. So it all piles on. And So it's not just about academics. That's an important part, but it's also about the relationships and the feeling of belonging.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think before COVID, we've been tracking this forever. This is not a new thing to track,
Right.
post-COVID thing to track. These were like 5 and 6%.
Yes.
So this is notably more.
Mhm.
Doctor's appointments, notwithstanding.
Right.
It's more, notably more.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go on to the next slide to try to. Okay. On this mid-year snapshot, everything is in ongoing implementation, as it should be. It is February. It is the middle of the year. And so it is in about the middle of the year as far as things going along. You can see I put the number of little squares based on how much of the budget was spent. So that's what that kind of correlates to. At this point in the year, all of our structures are in place and we are just working on kind of deepening them. And we have spent approximately half, not exactly, but approximately half of the budget that we intended to spend. We will continue spending more. The vast majority of our budget, of course, goes to staffing. And so as we're halfway through the year, halfway through the budget. Does anybody have any questions about any of that before we go to the final slide?
This isn't a snapshot of success level. It's just.
Right.
just how-
Implementation.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is strategic priorities that are coming up for the spring of 2026. So we want to take a look at what's next. None of this is new, but it's just being called out because this is the work of the next few months. We're working on strengthening inclusion practices, and that's not just the next few months, of course, it's the next few years. That's really important for us to ensure that we have those strong practices in place to really support all of our students, but in particular the students with disabilities as we are in differentiated assistance and SELPA monitoring for those students. We're working on reducing suspensions and improving school climate. Looking at consistency in adult practices there and keeping students really connected to school. The third thing is sharpening core instruction and intervention in mathematics. Through that PLC process, we're trying to get fewer competing initiatives, I still love this phrase, getting elbow deep in those standards and ensuring that there is time and genuine effort put towards Tier 2 intervention for students, particularly in math. And we are exploring dual language immersion, as you know, in response to the family interest. We're conducting the feasibility study. So this is about understanding what's viable, what's sustainable, what's aligned to our goals. And it makes the list of spring priorities because it's a significant amount of time that we're investing in trying to make sure we get the decision just right so that we can recommend to the board what you need to know. And then finally, number 5 is aligning with our new district strategic plan as we continue working on that, making sure that all of our goals are aligned, but then thinking really hard. And I appreciate what both of you had to say about metrics. I love the digging into kind of the subgroups around metrics and setting some really specific goals there. So aligning all of this with our new district strategic plan as we move forward with the year 3 of 3 of the LCAP for next year. Okay, any questions?
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's very nice.
Yeah, good point. Thank you. Okay, reports. Do we have how to report, please? Mikey from.
I wanted to first thank Chris for having an open and clear discussion about our budget going forward. It was a good meeting. We were 3 of us, 4 of us, 5, 6 of us were there, right? And it was, I think it was good and honest. It was clear where you put out some things, you stated some goals, and then asked for input. I think that was It's very good. I actually today requested from our members any place that they could save some money. Okay. So I sent an email saying, hey, you know, are there subscriptions? Are there things that we've been paying for that we don't really use? And, you know, sometimes, as we all know in our personal finances, that you pay for subscriptions, all of a sudden it's like, why am I subscribing to this? It's 3 years later, right? And you don't necessarily recognize, if you don't look at your checkbook, your bank statement, that things just sort of happen. And I think teachers are probably there. You're going to find some people, some teachers, HADA members that will say, you know, I thought I was going to use this tool. We subscribe to it and we don't really need it. And so I'm going to communicate with you, Tiffany, to to see where we can actually, you know, either reduce a license perhaps or something, right? So save money where we can. I brought this up to our Healdsburg High School staff at our staff meeting today. And one comment that came about was, even if every HADA member, 88 members, saved $1,000, it's still only $88,000, right? And so it's not that much money, right? It is something, right? And that's what I told them. I go, every little bit counts, and every little bit could be somebody's position that we could help some students. Like, we keep one more para employed who helps a classroom of kids. And that's what I told them. But then, you know, to me, I was thinking about this analogy as I was listening to this. It's kind of like, you know, the schools having bake sales, right? It's like, we're having bake sales to make a few pennies here and there, and one of my members in our meeting today said, we are penalized every year for having too many admins. We're penalized by the state, and we pay the extra admin salary. So that's a huge amount of money that, you know, I know that it does say in the audit that we say we need all of the admins we have. But, you know, to the people in my audience, they said, you know, I'm going to look for, you know, $150 savings when we could have $200,000 savings. So, and it's clear in the audit that it's been shown every year that we're over administered. So keep that in mind, right? If we're looking for money, that doesn't affect, you know, everything affects students, I guess. But, you know, the bake sale versus, you know, the windfall kind of thing. So, thank you.
Do we have a CSEA rep? Seeing none, student trustee, please.
Good evening. So, I mean, I'm kind of all over the place with creating this this report for tonight. It's kind of an awkward time of year. You want to move slow, but you can't. You need to keep it pushing, and it gets increasingly difficult with some of the things I'm going to share to you, specifically that junior internship program that we just wrapped up last week. So I'm sure you're very familiar with that program, but it was my experience this year, and I found it really moving. And it builds into those district goals of involvement in the community. And it was very well received amongst the juniors and mentors, and it was a really strong experience for everyone. And I'm really glad that it's available for us. I was at Vanguard Properties with 3 others, and you know, even though it's definitely not what I want to go into in the future, it's something to learn, and everyone really valued that experience. So moving from that, sticking with the juniors, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Boys and Girls State. It's a summer program held in Sacramento, and these last couple weeks, juniors have been nominated and interviewed by the American Legion, and I just kind of wanted to fill you guys in, and that is happening, and it's an opportunity. It builds into civic engagement and building leaders for the future. It's a very valuable experience, and I'm really glad that we have some strong students that got nominated this year, and hopefully we'll be attending. But yeah, moving bigger picture of the school, our winter sports all had amazing seasons. I think boys soccer, boys basketball, girls basketball all made playoffs. Some lasting a little longer than others, but it's awesome to see that our athletics program is thriving in the way that it is. And I know wrestling had some great individual performances, and I believe that season is still ongoing. Spring sports have started. Last Monday was the first track practice, and I believe also the start of swim season. You know, it's springtime already, and it's kind of hard to believe. Yeah, and it just gets more busy from here, but time is moving by. And you know, those are the positives, but there's also been some negatives on campus. Specifically, this morning I shared with the ASB class that I attended the budgeting committee yesterday, and I kind of discussed what we discussed there, and they were very taken aback that such an influential hub for student sharing and wellness, that wellness center was getting some shots thrown at it. And I mean, I'll say what I said yesterday is I think what we have is very, very strong, and I don't want to see it go whatsoever, but it's also very important to acknowledge that it is so strong because we've kind of overdone ourselves. We've overachieved with that program, and it's wonderful to see that, but it's important to understand that we have overachieved, and for such a small school that we have of only 500 students, it's almost doing a little bit too much to have as much as we're doing. And although it's super important, if there's money to be saved there's money to be saved. And coming from someone that's so involved in that, and I've seen all the raw numbers, I think it's fine to save money there. And students are definitely upset by it, but also need to ground yourself and realize that what we have is very powerful, and it's not necessarily leaving, it's just being remodeled. But that's all I have for the high school. But at the junior high, I emailed Principal Odetto this morning, and I was like, what's going on? And this is something that I really like to see is that they're building into the idea that being chronically absent and having poor attendance is not a good thing. And they're holding their kind of tardy-free project experience at the junior high. And I think it's a really valuable experience to have. And you should tell all the students that a high schooler is saying this. And it's very important to build that skill early. You don't want to be tardy, and it's not something that you want to have on your record. Yeah, junior high is doing great. The Run for Funds fundraisers happening this week, I believe. Yeah. Yeah. Poor weather.
Really this year
Oh.
in May.
In May. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I meant. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys.
Good.
Hey, Lucas, before you sit down, I wanted to give you kudos. I thought your participation in the budget committee displayed a lot of maturity and perspective beyond your years. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
And then just a quick anecdote. You made the Micah Hugs thing happen with the the fentanyl awareness and Narcan being passed out at the high school. And I wanted to convey to you that I have had a teacher from a neighboring district reach out, and one of the Narcans that our student, their son goes to our school, every kid got 2, right? And he gave one to his mom, and it was used in a classroom at a school already. So you're already making a difference with your efforts.
Yeah,
so
that warms my heart.
Yeah.
And it appears that I have skipped over this bullet point. I knew I was missing something when I walked off of here, but that was a remarkable project, and I'm super glad that it was able to happen. I told Micah Hugs afterwards, if you want a student representative, someone to push this onto other campuses, I'm the man. I gave him my phone number. He has my email. So I'm looking forward to doing some work with him in the future. And I'm really glad that we were able to distribute Narcan and fentanyl test strips, and have such a moving event. I mean, every student was there. Every student was given Narcan, and it makes me very happy that's everyone has that ability to save a life. And if it's already happening, it just it's a testament, and I'm
absolutely.
really glad about that. Yeah.
I will. I got to, I mean, I carved out time and went to the junior class presentation, and the kids were really riveted by the whole thing. And the questions were serious, like real questions, you know, that they had that really did need to be addressed. And it was really good. So, yeah.
And that said, do we have any further comments from the Board of Trustees, please? Nothing to report? I will report on, it looks like two things. Well, the Budget Committee we've talked about. On the 25th of last month, the Community Arts Education Forum put on by the city, I believe, and Trustee Velasquez was there as well. It was great. I would bet there were probably 30, 35 people from the community, the art community, which was great to see. And my hope is that they continue, that continues, and that we build more connections with our school system, et cetera, our teachers, and particularly our students, in order to bring art into the lives of our students. I was also just made aware of today that there is a student presentation to the Arts and Culture Committee at City Hall next Wednesday. I don't have a time, but there is one there if you attend. I think Linus may have sent something out, just to be aware of that. And if you can make it, let's try and go there and support. Any other comments or reports? Do we want to take it now or keep going? Would you like to take one or two more budget things?
Do we do a break?
Would you like, and then do a break? So let's go to.
Do a break now.
You want to do a break now or later?
Yes, please.
Now?
Mhm.
We'll take a break. We'll be back around 7:30. Thank you. This is an action item. Now they turned it on.
Good evening. So the audit report is actually two items. So the first one is just the audit report, and then I'll go on to the findings. So the audit report itself for 24-25 is extremely clean. There was only two findings. The report shows that we were deficit spending by 2 million, which we were aware of. Everything else in there is pretty clean. I don't know if you guys had any questions. Okay.
No questions, no comments? Do we have a motion to approve?
Thank you so much.
We have a motion. Do I have a second? And I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 6-0. Going to be certification of corrective actions for the 24-25 audit findings.
So we had two findings in the audit, two findings that have been repeated over the last several years. The first one being the ratio of administrators to certificated staff or teachers. And we're showing it actually went down a little bit because they round the number, but we're basically the same, but we will be going down next year because we have the 0.4 in administration isn't going to show up until 25-26 audit.
Right.
So that is our first finding. The second finding is the ratio of 55%. and we came in at 51.01. This has been ongoing. I did file for a hardship with the county. It has been approved. Basically, in the hardship, we're talking about our OPEBs and special education encroachment, and the two together equals 14.6%, which would put us right where we need to be. And on top of that, after you get audited, you have a year that they look at to make up these percentages. So that's why when I file for a waiver, I speak about the salary increases each year, because if we were short 2%, but we gave a 9% salary increase, that makes up for that. And so that's an ongoing thing. So for 24-25, we were short 3.99%, and the salary increase for certificated for 25-26 was over 4%. So I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. So that's on top of the OPEBs and the special education encroachment. Is there any questions about that?
No. Go over that again.
Okay, which one?
About the salary covering the
corrective action.
corrective act. Thank you.
The corrective action of the salary increase? Is
Yeah,
that what you're speaking of?
Right, yeah.
So our shortage is 3.99%. That's the difference between the 55% and the 51.01%. And the salary increase that we gave for 25-26 is over 4%.
So they cancel each other out, is that what I understand?
Well, it shows that we're staying on top of it, and we're
Okay.
always trying to get above it.
Get above it, okay.
But in the equation, in the calculations at the end of the year, there's a lot more things that play into that. But at the end of the day, they just take that percentage.
And the way this plays out is like, if it wasn't approved by SCO, the county superintendent could say, okay, set aside X amount of dollars so you meet that percentage.
All right.
And that is going to go to however we would disperse it to the classroom expenses,
Correct.
which would be mostly classified in certificated salaries. But we already do that
Did it
because
anyway.
we do our raises that time of year every year. So it's sort of a moot point.
Okay,
Yeah. And that was conveyed to us by the SCO business office.
all right, thank you. And it is action. Do I have a motion?
So moved to approve the report of
Corrective actions.
corrective action. That's the word.
Hmm.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. We have a 6-0. It passes. Going to item C, 2026-27 district calendar. Superintendent Van Uvel.
So we have a first read of the district calendar. It is pretty standard fare for our calendar. It feels, for whatever reason, it feels early because it's August 13th instead of 14th or 15th, but it's just how it falls. Not a lot of discussion about moving things around. There was a little bit of questions around, we moved the district day down a couple days in the scheme of the beginning of the year professional development days in an effort to incorporate more classified staff because they're not all on the calendar when we normally have the district day. We would pay them to come, but we don't get great participation. So we want it really truly to be a district day. We got some feedback from teachers that might interrupt their flow of, doing PD and starting to move forward in the year and be prepared. So we're discussing that still. That's not a really big change that's going to affect anybody besides our own staff. So it wouldn't affect when people come back to school or anything like that. That's really the only change that's been talked about. That said, the main driver in calendar is typically Santa Rosa City Schools because we have a lot of staff that have kids in those schools or districts that usually match up with them. And we have yet to receive a draft from them, which given what's going on there is probably not surprising. So if they do something dramatically different, we may need to consider changing it. We'll see. But yeah. Laurel's in communication with the assistant there. They don't really care about ours. Yeah. And they actually don't, the AVS is usually quite different. So I don't even know why we share them. But but anyway, we'll see there's a little bit of a wait and see with Santa Rosa hopefully coming out with some. So So
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, I'm wondering, is this the earliest that school will ever start if we sort of stick with our like regular?
I
'Cause
think
this
so.
does
I
seem
haven't
really
really,
early to me.
I haven't analyzed. We started August 14th this year. So
Yeah.
a day. So it just is how the days fell,
Right.
right? So
Right.
I haven't done a multi-year analysis to see,
Okay.
but this definitely, I shared, like, I was like, August 13th, how, wait, can we move it by a week? And then we looked at it and it's like, the only way to do it is to go longer into June. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that does seem early.
it
but
feels
then
early.
It just all flips again.
Yeah.
but, do we really think we're that tied to, do we need to be tied to Santa Rosa if they come out with something crazy? Because they're
We've
gonna
never
cut-
not done what they do because it seems like it can be typically the JC matches up and it just impacts a lot of people and their children. So could create childcare issues for families and things like that of employees. But if they come up with something so outrageously different, we'll have to consider it. So I don't anticipate them changing much. You know, only thing I could think of is possible furlough days where they just go to school less. I don't know. So,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know if that's even being talked about.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, moving on to the comprehensive school safety plan. Ms. Odetto. We're not going to finish.
Okay, this is the final safety plan. I brought the first reading to you in November and reviewed all the things that we have been working on. There's the final product. It's, as you can see, many, many, many pages. We keep updating and trying to make it more user-friendly. That is the binder that will stay in the superintendent's office. This year, we've made a change. Oh,
Yeah, it's hard to, it's really hard to see. Can you hold it up a little higher?
Don't hurt your back, please.
And that is fully memorized.
I don't think that was a back safe lift. Yeah.
This year, a couple things we've done is we've taken out the emergency plan for the sites and separated it from the big plan. And we have them in an envelope in the front. So if something was to be happening and someone needed to go to the plan, they could just grab that envelope and pull that
Makes sense.
site. And we're always improving and coming up with new things we can do. The main thing we're working on this year is the reunification site with Healdsburg PD and trying to come up with one that works for the school district and the PD and transportation and getting us all together and on the same page. And that's going to be ongoing for the next year.
Okay.
I mean, there can't be that many options.
No, but where you go matters, and we got guidance from the police department about having it be a place where students couldn't get out of, and is not visible for the press. Just considerations there
department-
because of the trauma that you'll be dealing with and sort of the chaotic nature of it. So we're working on that. Yeah.
Their needs are a little bit different than what we think of as our needs. So bringing them together and trying to meet
Yeah,
everybody's
they've
needs.
thought through eventualities a little more than we have for issues like that. You know, you mentioned the pit, like that in the first season at the end, the thing they lived through and the planning that they had, it was kind of eye-opening for me.
That was
Yeah.
amazing.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Hate to relate it back to TV, but it's a good show. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Don't let your kids watch it, but yeah. Right.
Like that's,
And the supplies you need and updating them all the time and who takes care of those supplies and where do you store them and who's going to grab them. And there's just so many details.
What color bracelet? We didn't have that. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
Mhm.
okay.
Any other comments or questions?
No,
Do we have a motion?
You're welcome.
I'll move that we approve the comprehensive school safety plan and thank all of the work and heavy thinking that goes into that.
Yeah, and I wanted to thank publicly too, Maribel Chavez. She's put a lot of time into this and she's done a really great job.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
We have a motion, a second, and a compliment. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We have a 6-0. Thank you.
Unofficial compliment
Unofficial.
is approved.
The proposal from that thing, Quack Architects
Trochee Quack. Yeah.
QK.
for the Aquatic Center project. Sorry.
This is QKA's fee proposal for the new aquatic center.
Yeah.
They've based this on a construction budget of 14.5 million. We're not even in the design phase yet, so that is subject to change. But they're starting to work on it, and to begin the design, they need to have a contract.
Oh. Well, it sounds,
Thank you, Healdsburg voters.
you bet.
Oh, thank you, yes. Any questions, comments? And do we have a
No,
motion?
It's just very exciting.
It is.
The meetings have been
Mhm.
really exciting, I think. I'll move that we approve the fee proposal.
I'll second.
And we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 6-0. Moving on to award of leaseback agreement for preliminary services contract for the Aquatic Center project.
The next item is the leaseback contract for the aquatic center. And this cover sheet is talking about all of the steps we took to go through this process and the evaluation process and the interview process and how we scored them. And GCCI was selected. And this is for them to join in during the preliminary stages. And that's what this first contract's about. It's
Mhm.
preliminary cost up to $7,400.
I was wondering what we were lease backing, if that's a verb, when we don't even know the scope of what we're doing, but now I understand it.
Yeah,
the
it's to
first
get
way.
them involved in the preliminary stages so they have input.
Yes.
Other questions? No comments? Do we have a motion?
I'll move.
Do we have a second? I'll second. Those in favor?
Aye.
We have a 6-0. Board of Trustees stipend increase.
So we talked about this at the last meeting, and it was requested to be on the agenda again today. It is listed as an action item, so if you feel so inclined, you can take action. You did ask for comps at the last meeting of other districts, so we dove a little deeper than we usually do to try to find basic aid districts. One that you wouldn't have heard of normally is John Sweat. In the past, John Sweat's a district in Benicia that is similarly, has a similar student makeup and funded similarly at the same levels as we are. So we've looked to them for comps in the past. That's why they're included. It's not a Sonoma County district. So we're just looking for more comparable districts and boards, right? So you have that information before you. And I'll turn it over to you guys for discussion and thoughts.
Comments, thoughts?
Have any new thoughts since we talked about this last month?
And what are your thoughts?
Like I said last month.
Which is?
Do I really?
Mhm. Please.
I am not convinced that this is at all the right time to be doing this. And yeah. Again, I look back at why this was done. It was done to try to entice people who maybe wouldn't think about running. This helps them overcome some financial obstacles to dedicate the time that's needed to be on the board. I don't really know that that's working or happening. It's only been a couple of years. So I just think it's really premature to want to raise it now.
Okay.
I think that it's premature to raise this issue at this particular moment in time until we know what our finances are
What our
going to
budget
be.
So what do you think would be a more appropriate time? March, April?
Oh, I think that we can't talk about it until May at the earliest.
I think a trigger point for me is that people are going to start filing for, to run in the election in the fall. And that's what I would like to look at is that if it's appropriate, if it will fit in with our budget, that we should consider it at a time when that's prior to the filing period. And I really actually feel very strongly that for some people that would consider running for the board, that the difference between $221 a month and $1,200 a month is the difference between being able to decide to sit on this board and not. And, I think times are tough for everyone. And if you're missing work to do a good job sitting on this board, that it is a substantive amount of money. And, we're also in a moment where we're talking about district finances, period. And this role has been a volunteer role for many, many years. And I would argue that at $221 a month, it's still sort of like a volunteer role. I will say that I don't think there's anything wrong with us taking some really hard consideration, careful consideration of, the fact that we actually put a lot into what we do on this board, and maybe not everyone out in the community knows how much preparation, time, careful consideration, talking to people, it is a huge commitment. And I'll just say, personally, I started doing this because after years of doing different volunteer things within the district, I felt like this was the very best fit for me to use my volunteer time that I wanted to put towards my own family's education. And obviously I care about my community, but just that that this was the best fit for my skill set to make the most of my time more than selling pizza or whatever, and so I stick to doing this as my volunteer gig, but especially in the years when I was in a leadership position, there were some hard discussions in our house about my time commitment for this. And that's real. And I am the only person on the board right now who has children in the district, and that's been years. And, we are in those lean years of trying to make ends meet. And I would just be so pleased if we were able to open a door or a window for another person who has a current deep investment in what's going on in the schools and knowledge of the classrooms day to day to be sitting up here also. And if that, to me, it's these people take this volunteer gig very seriously and do a lot to deliver. So the fact that hasn't been a paid position in the past doesn't mean it doesn't have to be a paid position in the future, and one that's respected with pay, which we respect the many people within our district who work really hard for the money that they make. So I don't want to talk about it right now either. I concur with my fellow board members. I feel like this is not the time to discuss it, but I do think we should be really honest about what we do here, which is that we contribute to the positive direction of this district also. And that, if we were able to get more diversity up here in terms of people's relationship to the district, I would be absolutely in support of raising this stipend so that we could have, that. So if we need to give people the opportunity before the election next year to consider that as part of their process, that I want to be respectful of that. I really do think it would open some doors potentially. And if that goes on for a long time, I think, Donna, it is a good point that this is a relatively new thing, and our district finances are strong compared to so many places. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, the last thing I want to say is that, I'm now in my 6th year on the board, that I do feel like what you're able to do over time as a board member becomes more complicated and rich over time because you have the background of having confronted many problems and issues along the way. And I guess I just want to say that making it a commitment that the people can really stick with, that works in their lives, is a really good idea.
Yeah, and I believe, I don't have the exact filing deadline this summer, but usually it's the beginning of August.
Right.
Yeah.
The
so-
deadline.
And-
But-
Yeah. Yeah, I can get the
I think it
information from
opens
there.
like
Sure.
June, maybe.
Yeah, it's usually like a
Opens
2-month
June.
period. Yeah.
So that coincides with us at least having a slightly better idea of what finances look like for next year. And the truth is that we can change this at any point in the future if district finances become, dire, which it's happened in the past, right? Didn't it happen when you were on the board before that?
When I first came on the board, there was a stipend and there was medical
Well,
for family. And the very first thing that we did was to cut everything, just lopped it off.
There was lifetime medical for trustees even, wasn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we cut it all
When,
because we were going into negative.
Almost receivership.
right.
This is like 04, 02, somewhere in there.
it was pre-basic aid.
Well, I went on the board in 2004.
Yeah.
And I think that it was all cut by 2005.
Yeah.
But we still do have
Done it.
trustees who are on lifetime medical benefits.
Oh, okay. Former trustees.
Not very
Correct.
many,
Yeah.
because most of them are dead, but
Once upon a time, that committee.
sorry, that's how you're getting rid of the lifetime medical benefits is that we're dying, we're all
They're
gonna
keenly
die.
aware. Yeah.
I don't know if it's good or bad. Anyone
At
else?
one time or another.
Comments? So I'll make a comment. I have spoken personally to two people that I would love to see run for the board. And I've heard of one other that I haven't spoken to and, let them approach me. In that sense, it is an enticement. It's definitely an enticement. Some say if I had that, I could do it. And I could spend much more time. The timing is an issue, and I hear that, and I am sensitive to that. I mean, my druthers would be to do it tonight and move on. But I'm also listening to what my board is saying, and they're saying, let's wait and see. And not so much, I've heard, it doesn't look good or whatever, and I'll be real honest with you. Look at me, I don't look good, I'm okay with that. But we're also, giving nice salary increases to our employees, and we're not asking them to sacrifice. And I would hope that we would be business-wise, if that's the right word, wise enough to entice people that are talented, that have the skills to apply for these positions that are actually coming open in whatever it is, 6 months. Therefore, with your permission, or I don't know if we have to take an action on it, I would suggest that we move this to April and make a decision at that point. We should know budget around that time.
Later, June.
But
right?
I'm asking Debbie.
No, in terms of discovering new budgetary allocations in the state, it's May revise, which is late May. And then first installment of redevelopment agency property taxes is June, and then August. So it would be, like, if we're looking for more insight into the budget, May is safer than April, put it that way. So, yeah, but that's for you all to decide.
Are we in a position to kind of
We can always
say
do
that
it.
we're going to reconvene when we have more information, but prior to the filing, to the opening of filing for the election in the fall? I feel like that's the.
I think part for what I see timing wise is, I would go to May, because people that are looking. If they're looking to run, they're looking around May. That's when the whole system of elections and all that begins. I'm still stuck on April, but I would move to May and put it on the agenda in May we'll have a much better idea. And I'll be honest with you, I am not concerned. I mean, I'll be very honest. My math, so check it. Based on what we now receive, it's probably an additional around 52,000 a year. So I'm cognizant of that. I'm aware of what in the budget discussion, certainly yesterday's budget discussion, et cetera. But I also, and I mean this sincerely, I have great confidence in the woman that's sitting over there. Not that she's going to make money for us, but she finds money for us and knows how to make all these things work. And again, I think with some of the reorganization that I'm hearing from the superintendent around some things, I think we're in a good place. I mean, I have, again, full confidence in the superintendent and in the CBO that we're going to be just fine. And so with your permission and agreement, I will move this to an April. I don't know if we have to take an action on it or just, I don't know how that works.
We can talk about an agenda setting. We don't.
And I mean, as far as this as an action, so.
Yeah, I mean, if you were going to take an action, we have to list it as an action. So,
Right, we'd have a motion and we'd vote if there was an
right.
action.
If it was just discussion, you couldn't take action.
I understand
Yeah.
what I'm saying. I don't have to take action tonight.
No, you don't.
Okay.
Just because it says action, your action can be not to take
Okay,
action. Yeah.
non-action move
Yeah.
to,
Nobody makes a motion. It just sits.
okay, move to April and we can.
I
Did I
think
say May? Damn.
I think it has to be a little later, Mike, because I feel like we can't have like a material discussion about this until we have more information about these both factors. And I will say too, like
April or May?
I just want to add that, that I think we all will probably start having conversations with people who are thinking about running. And I think it's a fair question for us to ask people, like, would this impact your ability to move forward with,
Good question.
and I think we can bring that into the conversation because we are talking about making a cultural financial change in what this role looks like in some ways, although the state of California really changed the rules, acknowledging, no, I get it. There's many facets to it, but when people are calling us to talk about running, we should talk to them about it.
Absolutely.
Because I believe that this is practical and that it opens the door to people's participation that wouldn't otherwise be there.
I agree.
It's not paying one babysitter to come to one meeting. It's more than that. It's offsetting hourly work and things that could be really beneficial to the future of the district.
I agree.
Okay.
Well, I'm just going to take a poll. How many people would go for April? Go ahead, come on.
No, I'm just saying that
No, speak.
the more information we have,
Sure.
the better the conversation is. And I think everyone's in agreement that we're going to have more information in May. We could push it in April, but if we don't have the information, it's
Do-
going to be hard to make a decision. So it's not, I feel like we shouldn't vote on when the meeting is. We should do the meeting when we're going to have the information we need.
And my concern is to make sure that the public is aware that this has happened. So
The other piece that I want to make sure as you're talking with folks in town is remember we have trustee areas. And so they have to live in the two areas that are up. And I don't know them off the top of my head, but we'll send it to you in the update to make sure.
Be a good thing.
So that's,
Would you send them to us?
yeah, well, I'll put it in my Friday update to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Might be a good thing to agendize for next month. It's looking at the zones and what the actions are going to be, because I don't know everything. I haven't been around for, I've only been around as long as I've been around, but zone 1 is one of the zones that's going to be open. And I don't know that we've ever had a trustee from zone 1 in like recent memory.
Right.
And so this is a different process. Like this is going to be a
How do we
whole
get the word
different
out?
ball game about how to get the word out and how to get, we want like a robust, rich, thoughtful group of people up here.
Mhm.
And, so I do think this conversation about, about stipends is important potentially for people who are thinking about running, especially if they think they might have a campaign. It is a huge, huge responsibility, buy-in to run a campaign if you end up having to do that, which I'm not suggesting that.
I mean, with the zones,
It's gonna be
I suspect
tough.
campaigning will probably die down. Yeah, but yeah, no, we'll get you the information.
But it'll depend,
Yeah, it depends on
There
if
are
two
three
people want to.
candidates who live in
Yeah.
my zone, so
I
like.
They can't run, because you can't run this time.
was just looking back at one. So,
They live in the same zone.
oh, I didn't know that. Yeah.
There's.
I'm sorry, when you said zone one and we've never had a representative, I had like a Hunger Game flashback, which is like, yeah,
The
anyway.
odds are in your favor.
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest that we move it. And it's not even a motion. We move it to April, but we take a look prior to April. The reason is that May is the third week. And you don't want to do that. Okay. Is
Should
there-
we make a motion that
No, there's no
we've
motion.
discussed it in no motion?
There's no motion.
We need to have more information.
All right, let's go for May. We may put it on for discussion earlier or have a special board or whatever, but we'll play it easy. All right.
Yeah,
so
we could have a check-in. Yeah.
Think about the new zone.
Yeah.
election.
So we could bring the zones and the possibility in April. So we should,
That's pretty good.
yeah.
Maybe before that, let us know. what the
We
results
need
are.
to know. Yeah.
Okay.
But I will get you information this week. So. All
Okay,
right.
that said, have I delayed it long enough?
Yeah, I lost.
We
All right.
discuss you after.
All right, May. So make a note, please, May or before. And again, please the zone so we can take a look at those. Okay, personnel ratification of now, my understanding, there was an error.
Yeah, so the
Input?
lawyer, me, Laurel, we missed that it had the wrong year in it. And so like in the contract, it talks about the 24-25 school year, which is obviously incorrect. So we need to pass the correct one.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I move that we ratify the
Yeah.
corrected superintendent contract.
Second.
All in, oh no, sorry. Next year.
You gotta wait years.
No, Laurel's the winner, I think. Yeah.
Laurel's gonna win. We've got to talk. All right. So we have a motion. Do we have a second for the motion?
I second.
We have a motion and a second for the ratification of the superintendent employment agreement due to an error. And so we're changing the date to the 25-26 contract, correct?
Yeah. Yep.
All those in favor, please say aye. And we have a 5-0 approval.
Great. Last item.
Last item,
Hey.
11,
You're gonna slow.
They saved the best.
item 11.
Save the best
Point
last.
3 personnel. First re-add of new career technical education arts program assistant description. The Board of Trustees will hear a first reading of a new career technical education arts program submitted by Karen Mendonca, Human Resources Manager, and here she is.
Well, hello, everybody. I thought since we always read the resolutions that we should read job descriptions.
I'm going to overrule you.
Okay, so today I'm bringing to you a first reading of a new job description. Healdsburg High School was recently awarded a large CTE grant that allows them to have an assistant for the CTE program as well as the arts program. The funding source would be paid by the grant or Prop 28, depending on the class that they would be participating in. So if you've looked over the job description, we currently had a position called the construction assistant that was created for CASA. And that was mainly to support the students and then also to make sure safety was at full force in the CASA classroom. So this would be expanded to include various other departments, which would be theater when they're building props, and I believe also auto shop, maybe to, there's lots of Yeah. So that's the reason we decided to revise this job description. It really becomes a new job description because there's so many revisions. So this is a first read, and we would be hoping that the trustees would be good to bring it back on consent next month.
And we did give it to CSEA today for their approval.
Yes,
So.
yes. So do you have any feedback about the position and have any recommendations for changes?
I just thought it was exciting.
Yes.
Basically, we're widening the job description.
Yes, and
Yeah.
that position would now become a 6.4 FTE like the other paras. And that way they are able to assist in any classroom that is needed.
But it could be a 1.0. I'm not.
Well, it doesn't make sense to have a 1.0 as
way
the
longer.
school day is in 8 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So
Good point.
one thing to keep in mind on the recommendations that are coming from the budget committee, there's a corresponding move in the budget reductions. The person who would be doing this job is currently a campus supervisor. We have an extra campus supervisor this year because we needed a female to be present in female-only areas. And so we don't need both of them. And so the job that he currently has as campus supervisor would be reduced, but it doesn't impact anybody because he's kept whole and probably making more as a CTE assistant. Assumedly, yeah.
And
Yeah.
this,
He is qualified. He's the construction aide right now. Yeah,
this grant is for 3 years.
correct.
So we're funded for 3
3
years
years,
for this
yeah.
position.
We do have to be mindful that after those 3 years are up, that we would have to
Yeah.
revisit to see if this is a position that we would be able to financially keep. Okay? So
More questions or comments? Okay, so please bring it back.
thank you very much.
Board.
But if you really want me to read it, I would.
No, we're good. Thank you. You can sit down.
Here's what it says, but I have it here on my screen.
Thank you.
Board of Trustees reports, comments, and requests for information.
No, other than the things we've already talked about.
There are no Board of Trustees. Who am I helping out?
Debbie's throwing things. Yeah.
Okay, we do not need to recess to close session. Our next board meeting is Wednesday, March 11th, 2026 at the high school library. Please note that.
We also will be having a special board meeting on March 3rd at 4:30. Oh, yeah. We have the February 24th. We have a meeting every week for the next 3 weeks. So we have a board governance workshop. Yeah. That'll be in A7 at the high school. And then
What day?
24th.
Oh, the 24th. Okay, right.
And then the 3rd, we will have a budget meeting.
Committee meeting?
Well, it's the budget committee's recommendations coming to the board for approval. Where is the March 3rd meeting? It's in the library at the high school.
Here to March 2nd day.
Say library.
No, that's for agenda for March.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, but it does.
You're going to put that in your update.
We're adjourned. Yeah, it'll all be in the update.
Okay, is it okay if I adjourn at this time? I'm not seeing any money coming. We are adjourned and it